welcome you to today's, the day before St. Patrick's Day and the day before our Good Morning Corona breakfast. But I just wanted to share with all of you how excited I am with the progress that we have made throughout our advocacy outreach. So I know that people are very excited about the music that Anthony has selected. And if you have other selections that you would like to have in the future, please feel free to outreach to him. I am going to take a moment, though, to share about our host and our chair of our advocacy. It is Jeff Miller. Many people are not aware of all the things that he has done for our community, and especially the business community here in the greater Corona area. Jeff was elected to the state assembly and was one of those few individuals that has that business background and that knowledge and understanding what it takes to keep your doors open. And he brought that experience of all those years that he ran a successful business up to Sacramento. And he also has the personality that he can work with pretty much anyone, even ones that are on the opposite side of what he feels is right. He knows how to navigate and work with them, and that's a tremendous asset. Jeff left the assembly, and prior to that, he was on our city council in Corona, served as mayor a few times, and also was on the Parks Commission. But he's maintained his private business and insurance business, a very successful entrepreneur in our community. And I'm just honored to have him as our chair for our legislative advocacy. Please welcome Jeff Miller.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you for that kind introduction. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, good. So here we are, another week down the road, and more death and destruction in Ukraine. There are no words. All we can do is say a prayer, and say a prayer for the people of Ukraine, say a prayer for the people of Russia. This is not their war. And may God speed and get them through this and stop the death and destruction. So with that positive news, let's move on to our great briefing this morning. It's an honor to be your legislative chair and to help guide us through legislation, political issues, ballot initiatives, whatever you want to call them, that impact our community and impact our chamber more specifically. Before we get into it, I just want to thank today's sponsor, Raising Cane's. With over 500 locations, Cane's prides itself on serving their one love, quality chicken finger meals better than anyone else. At Cane's, you get an exceptionally high quality product served quickly and conveniently. Their vision is not to only have great quality meals, but a great crew, cool culture, and be active in the community as well. Thank you, Raising Cane's, for sponsoring this meeting. As a reminder, there's a chat button on the bottom. If you want to send any questions to me, Jeff, the chamber host, feel free. Use that chat button. Or if you need to put any updates on any events or anything, feel free to use the chat button also. I'd like to now introduce Stephanie Shapiro, extraordinaire Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce, to take it over.
Thank you, Jeff, and good morning, everybody. Just wanted to touch on a couple of things we have coming up here at the Chamber that you may be interested in being involved in. Next week on March 22nd, 10 a.m. here at the Chamber office, we're hosting, along with the City of Corona, a sexual harassment prevention training seminar. This is something that is required for all businesses that have 5 or more employees in the state of California, and it must be repeated every 2 years or within 6 months of hire. So if you have any employees that need this training to happen for them, they do certify it. It's a 2-hour training. The first hour is for everybody, no matter what your rank is in the company. The second hour is for supervisors and managers only. So we hope that you can join us. It is free to attend. And if you have been in our office, you know our seating is limited and we are filling up. So if you plan to be here, I suggest getting on that RSVP list very soon. Anthony will put the link in the chat. The very next day, on Wednesday, the 23rd, it's going to be the last in our 5-part series that we've co-hosted with the city and Grow with Google. And this is about engagement between job seekers and employers. So they're going to focus on tools that you can use to work in a remote environment, to attract talent, to seek out remote work, things of that nature. We also have recordings on the past 4 ones that we've held. They're not related, so you did not have to attend a previous one to follow along. But if you're interested in any of the series and may have missed it, just let us know and we will get you that link as well. And finally, I know we've spoken about this before, but I don't know if we've updated you since the union and the contract and all that stuff was nipped in the bud and baseball is officially back. We have a Corona Night with the Angels. It's an exhibition game, preseason game, Angels versus Dodgers. We were originally scheduled for March 27th, but the date did get pushed back to April 3rd. So just 1 week later on a Sunday. We have tickets for sale. It's a fundraiser for the chamber, but it also provides attendees a discount on tickets. So they will be cheaper if you buy them through us versus going to the Angels website. We have 2 different links Anthony's going to put in the chat. One of them has multiple sections available. The other one is a special reserve section on the field that we have. And you can also get some 2016 Mike Trout bobbleheads on that site. And if you end up buying the field level tickets, you'll receive a hat, an Angels hat with that as well. So we hope to see you there. We're expecting a great crowd. And with that, I will turn it over to our membership development coordinator, Robert Yanez.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steph. And thank you all for being on this call today. And everybody here who's on this call, we all know that membership in numbers helps out specifically with this call as well. So I'm asking you if you have any clients or people that you work with that may be interested in the chamber and what we have to offer, please direct them to myself. Also for some amazing opportunities that our members, our marketing and promotions specialist, Tammy, will go over. So I'll turn it over to Tammy.
Thank you so much, Robert. Yeah, we're really excited about being part of this business briefing, and we definitely would love it if you would reach out to more people and invite them to come along, as it really does help. We do have some phenomenal ways to help you grow your business with sponsorship of and exhibitor benefits on every single event that we have. We also have really affordable ways to get your business out there, whether you like to do that via your website, we have options for that, or you like to be able to put in an ad in our business newspaper or be part of our e-blast that goes every Monday. They're very affordable ways that we can help you grow your footprint and help you flourish in your business. We thank you so much for being part of the chamber, and I'm going to turn it back to you, Jeff.
Great. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Stephanie. I'd like to go off agenda just real quick and thank Vic from the City of Hope for joining the call, and Jim from Peppermint Ridge. If you want to post any of your contact information in the chat, it would be appreciated and useful. I also want to thank Linda Pearson from Corona Regional Medical Center for jumping on the call. And if she has any updates or anything on COVID, we'd be happy to hear that after Jeff Gibson speaks. With that, I'd like to introduce Jeff Gibson. Jeff owns Occidental Communications Group for 30 some odd years, 35 years. Jeff has specialized in areas of housing and transportation, environmental, and a variety of different political issues, ballot initiatives, and government affairs. And Jeff helps guide us through all the bills and things that we're looking at. And so grateful he's here with us. And take it away, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Aaron Gobra, everybody. In the spirit of the morning. And I have my orange on. So anyone who knows Irish history knows that there's two colors on the flag. So, but getting aside of that, speaking of interesting political news, so the Senate voted last night 57-40 to ban the requirement to ban, and this would be a permanent ban on the requirement of masks on airlines. And it voted for 57-40. It was put over to the House. Usually when something votes out on a wide bipartisan majority in the Senate, it gets taken up very quickly in the House. So that could be taken up before the end of the week there and moved across. There's also a number of different bills. The bill to abolish Dr. Fauci's office within the CDC and split it up into three different organizations based solely on research, which is what 100% of the funding is supposed to be for, actually failed by only one vote. So it will be coming back to the floor. It was very surprising to have it only fail to be taken up by one vote. In the California State Assembly, an emergency move by several folks in the minority to suspend the gas tax, as 38 other states have done, and on a temporary basis for during the gas crisis, failed on a 40-17 vote. And in the Senate, in the state Senate, a motion to consider ending the emergency orders, as 32 other states have, both Republican and Democrat, was stalled in committee and will be taken up next week as well. So there's a number of different moves that are going on, trying to get California and the airline industry into what obviously is the medical footing that the rest of the country is on. So the president can remove the president, if he wanted to, could remove the mask mandate at any point, but it very likely will take an act of Congress. And for those of us who are in favor of sanity, the Senate voted overwhelmingly to also on a 57-40 basis to eliminate daylight savings time. So that has also been fast tracked and moved over to the House as part of the spending package that have been under negotiations. So it is possible. Daylight savings time, while it's dinged, we dinged Ben Franklin for it. Jimmy Carter was the one that actually made it national and permanent on the basis of energy savings. It's shown several different times that it does not save energy. It does not do any of those things. In fact, if you look at Ben Franklin's writings throughout the rest of his life, when he lists his bad ideas, he lists daylight savings as one of the silliest ideas that he came up with. So in any case, take that for what it is, as we're all a little blurry-eyed going into St. Patrick's Day. So on with the bills and the proposals in the state of California. We have 2 to support, 1 to oppose. AB 1619 by Assemblymember Cervantes of Corona. Yay! Gets into, as Brad, you're feel free to comment on this, as he gave us a very, very thorough report last time. As you sign your as you sign your voter registration card, this would add additional information on there so that you understand that the signature that you are signing, basically, please take it seriously, because when you sign your absentee ballot or you sign other documents that you may need to sign to show that you validly voted, the signature that you're providing on your voter registration card is the signature that will be used to check your against at the ballot box. So it's always good to have reminders for people, because I can tell you I last registered to vote 20 years ago. Obviously, I understood it at the time, but there are people that did not get hit in the head with a large rock at a young age and participate in politics. So keeping that in mind, it's a very good public disclosure, a very good bill, and we are supporting it. the second bill that we are supporting is called the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. In fact, it often is put to Prop 13 that they put in place a 2/3 requirement for passing taxes, but that actually was put into the second state constitution in 1872. In fact, it was the reason we had a new constitution drawn up in 1872, because taxes were between 1850, when we were led into the union in 1871, tax rates went up substantially because people could vote on taxes based on a raw majority. The Constitution was redrawn in 1872 and put in there for 2/3. It's a 2/3 requirement for any tax. And we also have a rule in the state of California that anything that raises government revenue is a tax, unless there is what is known as a nexus. A nexus study is generally if you stacked all the books that you have available in your office on top of each other, that would be basically the size of a nexus study for a city council to impose a new fee. They have to show that there is a very specific connection between the fees that you're being charged and the cost to government. Otherwise, it's a tax, which means that it requires a 2/3 vote. There was a single court decision, and as these things happen, a single court decision unraveled all of that, and now most taxes are passed, especially on a local level, by a raw majority. So what this initiative will do is take us back to the rules between 1872 and 2009, basically. So those were the longstanding rules. Both parties operated under them. Both parties had the opportunity between 1872 and 2009 to do something about it. No one did it. A single judge does not have the authority, or should not have the authority, to overrule all of those years of jurisprudence on a very, very narrow basis. So in any case, we strongly support the initiative. It's being supported by business groups, and happy to take any questions about that or the first bill if there are any.
Anthony.
Yes, so we do have one question on that Taxpayer Protection Act.
Yes.
Is that a bill or a ballot initiative?
That is a ballot initiative that is out for signature gathering right now. The Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act would be appearing on the November ballot if it qualifies, if it gets through signature qualification by the middle of June. The next bill, or the next act that we're going to be talking about as well, would do that as we would be talking about sometime between now and November. So if it appears on the November ballot.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Jeff.
questions?
We do have one other question that just popped up specifically relating to this bill. Where can we sign this Taxpayer Protection Act ballot initiative? Will there be petitions at any chamber events?
We do not, as a chamber, we haven't in the past collected signatures. But if you do look up the name of the act is the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. So if you look that up on the web, I'm sure they have a website, and you can either download the petition section and sign it and send it back, or I am very confident that they have the opportunity to let you know where to sign.
Thank you, Jeff. And we actually have two more questions regarding some of the topics that you first touched on. Is the mask on plane initiative that you talked about, is that a bill, or what is that exactly?
The U.S. Senate voted to require the President of the United States to remove the executive order mandating the usage of masks on planes. There has not been one case of according to the CDC and according to the U.S. Congress, so this isn't just Jeff making this up, the safest place for you to be, other than outdoors and other than in your own home, and it's actually safer than your own home, is in a plane. during the COVID lockdowns. And so while it seems to make some intrinsic sense or extrinsic sense to have masks, the data has not borne that out. And so the US Senate voted to require the president to remove the executive order that now moves to the House, where it has to go through its process. In the Senate, you can bring up legislation very, very quickly by just adding it to other bills that are moving forward, or there's a number of different ways. And it now moves to the House. And so the House can decide to either put that into a bill to have it heard, or can go through its process. So.
Thank you. And one last question. Didn't California already vote to eliminate daylight savings time, but never put it into practice?
Yes. Surprising, isn't it? And we also voted 7 times to only use the gas tax on roads, not other projects, roads. And that's why we have a $65 billion budget surplus and about $800 million in additional funding for roads. So that explains to you sometimes how things happen. Yes.
Thank you again, Jeff. You can continue.
All right. So we are firmly opposing what's euphemistically known as the California Plastic Waste Reduction Regulations Initiative. That initiative is very likely to appear on your November ballot. At every stop in the production of plastic utensils, there would be a plastic utensils or any sort of single-use serving equipment that a restaurant or that you would buy in a store would have. At every single stop from production all the way through, there would be a penny added to that item. It would raise billions of dollars. None of that money is going to go specifically tied to reducing waste. The thing that we have always opposed and will always oppose is the imposition of a new tax, especially when the revenue goes into the general fund. So when you pay, for instance, at your grocery store for a bag, the implication in your mind is you're doing this to reduce waste. In reality, you're not doing anything at all, because the grocer gets to take that money and put it in their pocket. But for instance, there is a recycling fund, and when we get up against a structural deficit like we will be likely facing next year, I know we have a $65 billion budget surplus this year. We are looking at a financial position next year where the state will be running even based on current no recession outlook. But we know very well that there's a recession very likely headed. There's never been a time when inflation is over 7% for more than 3 months when there hasn't been a recession. The Federal Reserve today is going to be tightening interest rates, and they have indicated they're going to be tightening interest rates for 3 years. There has, out of the 12 times that has been attempted since 1950, 11 have led to recessions, including 4 major recessions, based upon how high inflation was. So we know we're going to be headed into recession. I bring this up because this tax, along with several other tax bills, are going to be on the 2022 ballot. And the reason those are on is because everyone in Sacramento is intent on spending that $65 billion surplus, or a gigantic majority of it. And they know next year there is going to be, even though we have a $287 billion budget, there is going to be a deficit, and they're going to need more taxes. And so that's why we're getting ahead of the curve here. So the idea is that we are opposing this, obviously, because it is going to be a massive tax on you and I and restaurants and everyone else in the state of California. But the dollars are going to go essentially into the general fund. Only less than 1% of any sort of waste from California ends up in an ocean anywhere in the world. The 14 most polluted places in any ocean in any ocean in the world, all ironically are on the Chinese coast. You know, I am in the ocean 4 times a month. I very rarely see any sort of waste in there, and I'm both well off the coast and on the coast. And so, I mean, I am very sympathetic to the idea that we need to continue to recycle and clean our beaches, but this is not the way to go about that. Any other questions on that? We'll go to the final slide, the fun part of the morning.
There are no other questions.
All right, so moving to the final slide, which is inflation, and we really want to concentrate on this for you so you can understand how things are very likely going to look. So if you look on this chart, you can see 2 very large peaks towards the left end of the chart, and you see a series of gray streaks. The gray streaks represent recessions since 1963. The peaks represent the 2 very large stagflation peaks of 1973 to 1976 and 1979 to 1982. And if you look over to the right at the very end, you'll see where we're living in right now. And you'll see how fast inflation is growing. And then you look back and you see how fast inflation grew in 1973 and how fast it grew in 1979. And you'll see that we are actually on a 1-for-1 peak with that. And then, of course, you have to ask yourself, well, what happened to break those? Well, what happened to break those were that the net interest rate ended up being higher, and not higher for a very long time, but it took policymakers a very long time to raise interest rates. Anybody who is on this call who remembers 1981, 82 will remember in quarter 4, 1981 and quarter 1, 1982, the Fed funds rate was 22.4%. And that broke, as you can see. They also have very quick down slopes as well. But that was a lot of pain that we had to go through. And we took 2.5 years to get to that point in both cases. Today, the Fed funds rate will be going up by 0.25%, which means that will go up 9 times this year if the Fed sticks to what they're telling us. But remember, these are the guys that were saying transitory inflation. That means that we will still have a negative net interest rate. So that's the interest rate minus inflation. And when you have a net negative interest rate for a protracted period of time, that means that you are still expanding the net money supply, because it costs less to get a bank loan than it does to go spend it at in the marketplace. And so you can still make money on that. That speculation is what drives inflation, not the $600 check you got, or some of us got, or some of our coworkers got. That is inflationary as well. But the idea that someone can go get billions of dollars of loans for 0.25 or 1% and then go spend it anywhere else in the economy and make a guaranteed 8%, that trade is going to go on for 2 to 3 years under the current pronouncement. So when you start looking in the future, it may do very well for you to think about this being an inflationary recession. So we've had jobs recessions, we've had demand recessions. Some of those are in 2007. You can see on this, you can see a very wide bar that's called the Great Recession. But if you look back, it really actually wasn't that much longer than the other recessions. But it was a very serious recession. That was an asset recession. An inflationary recession hits everybody. It doesn't hit just asset owners. It hits every single category of the economy. So this is why this is extremely serious and will be with us for quite some time. So happy to discuss that. As we discussed previously, 11 of 12 Fed hikes Fed hike campaigns, which means when the Fed has hiked interest rates more than 3 times in a row in a year, they've 11 to 12 times. Every single time they go out to save us from a recession, 11 to 12 times they're accompanied by a recession. So I don't know. Again, public school grad, 11 of 12 seems to be a pretty close correlation. So with that, I wish I had happier news, but happy to discuss anything you would like.
Thank you, Jeff. We did have one question posed in the chat, and that is regarding the surplus. Does the state owe the federal government $20 billion? Does the state's $65 billion surplus budget account for the amount owed to the feds?
So I believe the question is about the unemployment insurance, and the answer is yes. The state is $21 billion in arrears to the federal unemployment insurance system. What has been happening is every state gets a specific allocation that is the same, obviously, because the idea is that if you're unemployed in New Mexico, you deserve the same amount of national support that you do in California. And then on top of that, states can put in additional state requirements for their own unemployment insurance system. From time to time, states are allowed to basically go into deficit and have the federal government cover for a short-term basis the payments, an elevated payment. In California, for instance, I believe it's $385 is the level of, and I could be getting this number wrong, but it'll serve our purpose. 385 from the feds, generally another 300 from the state, what the state has been doing. And so the check that you get on a weekly basis, the max check would be $685. Not everybody gets it, but if you are an executive and you're out, if you're a high dollar employee and you go out, you get that level of unemployment insurance. What the state has been doing is they've been asking the feds to pay the California rate full through so that the state of California does not have to do that. That's a $21 billion bill. Congress, largely because of California and New York's abuse of this temporary assistance program, other states were, $10 million this way, $50 million that way. California and New York were billions. I believe New York was about 4 billion. California is now 21 billion. You can see that that's not temporary assistance. We've turned a social safety net into a hammock. So Congress passed a bill on a bipartisan basis to say, we will bankrupt your participation, California, in the unemployment insurance system. And then we will force you, California, to increase unemployment insurance taxes on employees in the state of California by $60 a year for 7 years until you reach $420 per employee per year in additional unemployment insurance taxes. And then you will pay us all of that money to get you back to $21 billion. And then we will go forward. And so what we're trying to do here is the federal government has come in and said, we don't want to do that. What we would like to see, California, is for you to spend some of your surplus. Much of it has already come from income that has come from the federal government anyway. We would like to see major payments towards that 21 billion. Last year, the governor proposed $1 billion, which sounds big, but when you have a $75 billion surplus, $1 billion was not taken as serious by the federal government. And again, that's the federal government under Joe Biden. So this is not a Republican-Democrat issue. The legislature decided to have that payment, and then it actually became about $100 million. So we had a $21 billion deficit. We paid $100 million towards it. This year, the governor is proposing again $1 billion, and they're going into negotiation. He's going into negotiation with legislative staff. So we are going to be following that very closely. But yes, so most other states, for instance, the first thing they did, Florida, for instance, the first thing they did when they had a budget surplus in the 2021-22 budget year was pay off the their unemployment insurance balance. I believe 21 states did that. And there were only about 25 states that had the unemployment insurance balance at the end of this crisis, at the end of the emergency and the lockdowns and all the things related to what we've been living through for the last two and a half years, or almost 2 years on the dot as of Monday. California will be one of the only states with an unemployment insurance balance with the federal government. So long answer, but it was a very good question, and it took a little bit of background there.
Thank you, Jeff. Anthony, is there anything else?
There are no further questions.
Okay, great. Well, let's get this wrapped up. I want to kick it over to, I see Linda Pearson popped up. Maybe she can give us a quick update from Corona Regional Medical Center. Sorry to put you on the spot, Linda, but
Okay.
I appreciate it. And then I'll kick it over to Brad West for a quick update.
So
Go ahead,
real
Linda.
quickly, things are looking really good. Like the CDC, our numbers are down. I think the interesting thing is we have 8 COVID patients to date. None are in ICU. 7 of the 8 were vaccinated and boosted. So we are seeing that the booster is not holding for Omicron, which has been publicly said. But no ICU patients, no deaths. So we're very happy and fortunate. That's good news.
Good news. Thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Brad West, Assembly Member Cervantes' office.
Mine will be very quick. We're currently taking nominations for Nonprofit of the Year. So if you have any nonprofits in the area that you'd like to nominate, please feel free to send them my way. Just as a note, they can't be any nonprofit that won a previous year's award. So that includes Queen of Hearts Therapeutic Writing Center, Peppermint Ridge, Reaching New Heights Foundation, Starting Over, and Harupa Mountains Discovery Center. But other than those nonprofits, if you have any in mind, feel free to send them to me and I'll put my email in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Brad. And please let the Assembly member know we took a position on her bill. Appreciate her doing that, and hopefully we can get it passed.
Absolutely. And we
with that,
greatly appreciate the support. Thank you, folks.
Yep, absolutely. With that, okay, Brad just put his contact information in. Let's wrap this up. Again, oh, Annette Dumont is waving her hands.
Yeah, I just wanted
Go
to
ahead.
say real quickly that the mask mandate and the booster mandate at Riverside City College, all 3 campuses, Moreno Valley, Riverside, and Norco have been suspended as of this morning.
Great. Thank you, Annette. With that, just a few folks on the call. I want to recognize former mayor, council member, Jason Scott. Thank you, Jason, for spending time with us, as well as Annette Dumont from the Riverside County Office of Education. And Monica Green was on the call, the president of Norco College. And from the fine city of Wildemar, did we lose her? May have lost her. Kimberly Davidson was on the call. So thank you, Kimberly, for coming on the call. With that, again, say a prayer for those folks in Ukraine and the people of Russia. And hopefully we can get this behind us and go out there and make some money. The meeting is adjourned.